Kia ora tamariki mā, nā mihi o te wā, nā mihi o te rā. Ko Jerome tōku ingoa. My name is Jerome, and today I'm going to share with you a story around the Putorino. So the Putorino is this beautiful Māori musical instrument, or musical instrument from Aotearoa, New Zealand. And comes from our tupuna, or our ancestors. And our ancestors created this Putorino from the design in nature, which comes from the whare tūngaunga, or the chrysalis of a beautiful night moth called the Hineraukatauri moth, you see. You might have seen those hanging from the tree. So that's where the shape of the Putorino comes from, you see. It comes from the nature. So that tells us that it's a nature-based musical instrument, or that the instrument and the music comes from nature. Now it's got a really beautiful story, this instrument. And you might be able to see over here, there's a beautiful face. This is Hineraukatauri. And Hineraukatauri is the goddess of music in Aotearoa. She's our spirit and guardian of all the music in Aotearoa, New Zealand. And in this pūrākau, she created her beautiful cocoon one night, and she came to the top of her cocoon when she had finished weaving this beautiful cocoon, and she popped her head out the top there, and she started to sing to the moon. And she was singing to the moon and singing to all of the nature to give thanks for this opportunity for her to be able to create this beautiful house so that she could start a family. She wove her house all by herself, and that's what they do in the nature too. Those beautiful female moths, the wahine, or Raukatauri, she weaves this cocoon. So she created her beautiful cocoon by weaving this beautiful house for her family, and she came to the top of her cocoon and she started to sing, and this is the song of Raukatauri. Now there's another little face over here, you can see, smaller than Raukatauri's face, and that's the face of Pēpepe. Pēpepe was a boy moth flying in the night sky also, and he was out looking for the juicy tarata leaves. That was his favourite, the tarata. And he was out there looking for that tree, looking for those leaves to eat for his evening supper. And all of a sudden, this big gust of wind picked up Pēpepe. It was his only little way. Picked him up and blew him into the sky, high up into the sky. And Pēpepe, he knew that the wind was much stronger than himself, so what he did was he tucked his wings in and he relaxed his body and he went with the wind. He could have fought against the wind, he could have tried to fight his way out of the wind, but he knew the nature was much more powerful than him, so he just relaxed and he went with it. He knew that the wind wouldn't last forever. It would die down and it would become calm again, just like a storm, eh? A storm only comes, passes, and then it's sunny again, eh? So he waited for this, and the wind blew him far away from his home, way, way away from his home. And as he predicted, as he thought, the wind started to die down, and eventually he could flap his wings again. And he came into this new place that he'd never seen before. And as he came down, as he flew down towards the trees, he could hear this beautiful song of Hineraukatauri. And he thought, whoa, where? Tērā, ko wai tērā, what is that? Who is that? Who's singing that beautiful song? And he decided, oh, never mind about the food, I'm not even hungry anymore. I'm actually more curious as to who's singing this beautiful song. I know, he thought, I'm going to fly towards the sound. And so he flew towards that sound. And Hineraukatauri, her song started to get louder and sweeter. And Pepepe had never heard that song or sound before, so he didn't really know who was singing. But he kept following that song. And eventually, he came to the branches of the tarata tree. And he saw her hanging in her cocoon, much like this one is. Yeah? He saw her hanging from the branches, just like how this cocoon is. And he looked, and he could see her face sticking out the top. And he could hear her beautiful song, clear as anything. And he thought, wow, how wonderful her singing and her whole beauty. He thought she was so beautiful, the way she was singing. And he could see that she was singing so powerfully and so strongly, singing to the moon, that she didn't even notice him. Didn't notice him coming into the tree at all, because she was so intent on singing her beautiful song, giving thanks, singing a song of thanks. And so Pepepe, he waited up in the branches, and he looked across, and he admired her beauty, and he admired her beautiful song. And he was really taken back by that. It took his breath away. And eventually, Hineraukatauri, she stopped singing. She had sung her song of thanks, and she went back down into her cocoon for the night. And Pepepe, he was still up on the branches there. Of course, she didn't notice he was up there. And so he thought, wow, maybe it's time for me to go home now. Or maybe I could sing a song back to her to give thanks for that beautiful song that I heard of hers. And he thought, yeah, I think I'm going to sing a song back to her. Now, sometimes in the nature, the Hineraukatauri moth, she'll make a double cocoon, did you know? Like a 2-story house. And so this is another type of Putorino that's based off the same, but it's got two. That one's got one, eh? So there's a Putorino and a Putorino kakauerua, or 2 barrels, or 2 chambers. And this is a single chamber. Anyway, Pepepe, he decided he would sing this beautiful song back. Took a deep breath in. He cleared his throat. He did some warm-ups. La 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 la. And then he started to sing his beautiful song back to Hineraukatauri. Now Hineraukatauri, she had gone back into her house, but she heard this beautiful song. So she came up, back up to the top of her cocoon, her house, her whare. She popped her head out the top there. She looked across and, wow, who's this handsome fella singing in my tree, she thought. Wow. I didn't even notice him up there. But boy, he can sing beautifully. And so Hineraukatauri, she listened to his song. She was like, wow, that's a beautiful song. And then Pepe, he stopped singing his song, and then Raukatauri, she started to sing a song back to him. What you might notice is that when I play it like this, when I play Raukatauri's song, or in this one, it's got a high pitch, or it's got a high sound, much like mum's voice, eh? All the girls have a much higher sounding voice, eh? And then what you might also notice is when I play Pepe's song, who's the boy, it's a deeper sound like Dad's voice, eh? Yeah, so there they were singing to each other all night long. Raukatauri would sing, Pepe would listen, and when Raukatauri finished, Pepe would sing, and then Raukatauri would listen, and it would go on all night long. They were listening to each other and getting to know each other through the song, eh? Now eventually, Tomanui te rā, the great sun came up over the mountains, and it was morning time. And so Raukatauri, she decided to sing one final song, and in her song she invited Pepe inside her whare, perhaps for a cup of tea or something in the morning. And so yeah, she said, and now Pepe, he's in the nature, he's much smaller. The boy, the male, is much smaller than the female, eh? And so he didn't race straight into the whare there. He sort of took his time, and he came around like this in a koru sort of shape, round and around like that. And eventually he landed on the top of the cocoon there. And Raukatauri welcomed him inside, pōwhiri'd him inside, just like if you go to the marae and you hear the ladies karana out to you, then you know it's time for you to come into the marae, eh? And all the whānau, so same thing. She karana out to him, and then he listened, and he made his way slowly and respectfully into the whare. Now more time passed, you see, and just like how your mum and dad had you, Raukatauri and Pepe, they had their own family and tamariki too. And when the tamariki were little, they lived. When they were born, they lived, as babies, they lived in this bottom part of the cocoon. And as they grew older and stronger and wiser, they moved up to the different parts of the house. You know, when you get too big for your room, sometimes you've got to move into another room. And that's what happened to the tamariki. And eventually, they came to the middle part of this cocoon here, and they started to eat their way out. That's why there's a hole over there where her mouth is, eating their way out of the whare tūnganga, or the chrysalis. You'll be able to tell if you ever find one of these. I found this on the ground, you see. I didn't go up to the tree and take it out because I don't want to disturb them. This one was on the ground, so I picked it up so it didn't get squashed. And I'm putting it in this tarata tree here. That's a little tarata tree. So I put it in that tarata tree. And yeah, and if you see a little hole in the middle there, you'll know that the tamariki, they're eating their way out, and that's the cycle of life's completed. So they ate their way out there, and the kids, before they went off to start their own family, they decided to gather around here, and they were going to sing a song to their mum and dad, Raukatauri and Pepe, to give thanks to their parents for loving them and keeping them warm and feeding them and nurturing them. And now it's time for them. They're big and strong enough to go off and start their own. So they sang this beautiful song to their mum and dad to say thank you. And this is my favourite part of the Putorino, because this is the song of the tamariki. This is your song, you see. It sounds like this. There you go, that is the story of the Putorino, the story of Hineraukatauri and Pepepe and their beautiful tamariki. This musical instrument you'll only ever find in Aotearoa. No other country in the world has this instrument. Just us here in Aotearoa, we're so lucky, aren't we? And as I mentioned before, when we play the first song, that's the song of all the mums and all the wahine, all the girls, your aunties, your cousins that are girls, your sister, your baby sister, your big sister, your grandmother. That's where this voice is represented. And if I play it down like this, the kōkiri tāne, then that song represents all dads and koros, grandfathers, uncles, cousins and big brothers that are boys, all the tāne, all the tāne. And of course, when we have ira tāne and ira wahine coming together, then ka putanga tamariki, then we have families and children, and of course that's the voice of the children right there. That's your song right there. We are no kia ora mai tatou, and I hope you really enjoyed that story about this beautiful musical instrument, the Putorino. And who knows, when you get older, maybe you can have a Putorino, you might be able to make one, and you might be able to play one, and the instrument can be played by girls and boys, and it's a really beautiful instrument that talks about the whānau, the family unit, which includes all the people in your whānau, and they're all represented in there. So, ngā mihi a kia aroha, kia koutou katoa. Thank you so much for listening, tamariki. Mauri ora, mauri aroha.